The lake Annecy, one spring morning. It's like a homecoming for André Bellato. Last year, this diving instructor thought he'd never again plunge beneath the lake's surface.
Vous êtes resté combien de mois sans pouvoir plonger?
De juillet jusqu'à octobre. La saison, ça a été zéro. Voilà, ça a été rien du tout. J'ai rien pu faire. J'ai pas pu du tout m'occuper des élèves, des futurs moniteurs que j'encadre, etc. Donc ça a été vraiment une année zéro.
A wasted year, and all because of something he wore. Part of his diving outfit, which, in contact with his skin, had some very undesirable effects. The part in question was a pair of deck shoes designed to prevent slipping on the boat. He only wore them for a few hours.
Je les ai portés de 9h jusqu'à 18h le soir, où je les ai retirés parce que je commençais déjà à sentir des démangeaisons. J'avais des boutons partout, partout. Le lendemain, c'était vraiment des boutons purulents. C'était vraiment impressionnant. On avait l'impression d'avoir été brûlé par des cigarettes.
André Bellato doesn't suffer from allergies, yet the inflammation lasted for 2 months, during which time he couldn't even stand on his feet. Now, 1 year later, he's suing the brand. In a park near Lyon, this jogger also had a nasty experience with a textile accessory. Once again, the material caused a frightening reaction.
Et voilà la casquette qui m'a rendu malade. Voilà, donc ça c'est ce que j'ai eu sur la tête pendant même pas une journée et demie. Et ça m'a brûlé le crâne, ça m'a fait enfler la tête de plus de 5 tours. Donc voilà, ça c'est une casquette à taille unique. C'est une taille 59 et je dois faire un petit 55 de tour de tête et j'arrivais plus à l'enlever, tout simplement.
Michel Clémenceau fell victim to a violent fever and lost half of his hair. He sent photos of the burns to the company that made the cap. He also enclosed a piece of the material demanding that tests be carried out. 6 months later, he received a letter from the laboratory.
Alors voilà le rapport. Et je suis vraiment étonné de voir qu'il y a autant de produits dangereux dans une casquette. De l'arsenic, du cadmium, du chromium. On ne peut pas imaginer qu'il y a autant de produits dangereux dans une simple casquette qu'on porte sur la tête que n'importe qui peut porter, même un enfant.
The jogger and the diver both bought their items of clothing from the same outlet. We used a hidden camera to film inside the shop in Annecy. André Bellato discovered that his deck shoes were still available.
Ah bah oui, c'est la même façon que j'ai acheté l'année dernière, les mêmes.
Et là, il y a des mises en garde sur d'éventuels problèmes de santé.
Voilà, protéger vos pieds, on doit porter pieds nus. Je dis bien que c'est à porter pieds nus. C'est là que c'est grave. La fabrication made in China.
Made in China. All the brands we wear on a daily basis are manufactured a long, long way from where we eventually buy them. 70% of them in Asia. So what chemical products are used in the manufacturing processes? Could they be toxic? And are they tested in any way? We go to India, where the dye from factories has contaminated the soil, apparently making large numbers of people seriously ill. We also go to Bangladesh, where workers, some of them very young, regularly handle dangerous substances. From workshops at the ends of the earth to our wardrobes, passing via high street shops, we carried out our investigation into the chemicals contained in our clothing. Above all else, it's the substances used to dye our t-shirts which make them toxic. We wanted to understand what kinds of products the manufacturers use to dye their garments. Our first stop is Burgundy, where Gerbe, a company whose tights are 100% made in France, was one of a very small number of manufacturers to willingly welcome us. Alain Regard is the boss. He begins by showing us some family portraits of the very first stockings made by the company over a century ago.
Donc ici, on a une collection de bas anciens qui sont de la fin du 19e siècle. C'est des fils de soie. Et ça, c'était teint sur place. Donc là, on travaillait avec des colorants naturels, tels que des fleurs ou des plantes qui permettaient d'avoir des colorations Et ces colorants-là, aujourd'hui, ils ont tous été remplacés par des colorants chimiques.
Things have changed a lot since those long-gone days. The company now uses 100 or so chemical substances in the manufacture of each pair of tights. The first step in the dyeing process is the exact dosing of the coloring agents.
Vous voyez, c'est une poudre très très fine.
With these powders, they obtain the exact shade required.
La peinture, c'est comme de la cuisine, il y a des recettes à suivre. Donc là, il va faire sa préparation. Donc on va ajuster très précisément le poids pour avoir la teinte finale qu'on veut. Donc il faut être précis au niveau de la pesée.
The powders are then mixed with water. And to make the colors fast, the manufacturer uses additives and fixing agents. These are the most toxic products. They arrive in these barrels. On the labels are the name of the supplier and, most importantly, the chemical composition.
C'est important qu'il y ait autant d'informations sur chaque produit chimique.
C'est très important parce que le fait que ces produits-là aient été, considérés comme conformes à la norme en Europe nous garantit en finale quand même la consommatrice qu'elle ne va pas avoir de relargage sur la peau de produits qui pourraient être toxiques ou allergènes notamment.
The European norm for textiles has a name, REACH. The regulation was adopted in 2006 and bans around 100 products which are harmful to health. All clothes sold in the European Union are supposed to be free of these substances, even if they were manufactured in Asia. And this is exactly where things get complicated, according to Alain Regard. He points out a risk run by competitors who don't only produce goods that are made in France.
Le risque que je le vois, c'est lorsqu'on a des intermédiaires, des grossistes, des distributeurs, etc., qui ne sont pas les fabricants eux-mêmes et qui peuvent être tentés parfois de faire des déclarations approximatives, voire légèrement fausses. Comment vous allez pouvoir remonter sur une société installée dans le fin fond de la Chine pour lui dire l'attestation que vous m'avez délivrée, elle n'était pas bonne?
Do the brands that have their garments manufactured in Asia know exactly what is in them? Are they in a position to provide the consumer with this information? We buy clothes from these 10 major retailers. We then write to them to ask for a list of the substances contained in each article. The companies are obliged under European law to reply within 45 days. Will they do so? While we're waiting, we have an appointment with a clothes designer who imports his materials. What sort of information does he have access to? This is the Texwell Trade Fair at Le Bourget, just north of Paris. 650 material manufacturers, almost all of them from Asia, come here to exhibit their latest products. Gregory Lameau set up his brand 2 years ago. He's looking for a top-of-the-range textile for his new men's collection, and he intends to question each manufacturer about the chemical products in their materials.
Gregory, nice to meet you. Can I have a look?
Yes.
Do you use dyed yarn or only that, or you do also dyeing?
We also dyeing yarn.
Okay. And you don't have any specification about the product you use to dye? It's like, no, you don't have that.
Gregory looks for materials certified to be in compliance with the REACH norm. They're not easy to find.
Eux, ils n'ont aucune info sur les produits utilisés. Elle ne sait pas. C'est-à-dire que moi, évidemment, je suis incapable de savoir.
C'est-à-dire si vous achetez ce tissu, quel certificat vous aurez?
Aucun.
Qui va vérifier finalement à un moment ou à un autre de la chaîne ce que contiennent ces tissus?
Personne. C'est-à-dire que les seules personnes qui peuvent savoir, c'est les gens qui vont faire la teinture.
Et le consommateur?
Oh, le consommateur, là, lui, il est carrément au bout de la chaîne, donc il va attendre un petit moment avant d'avoir l'info.
Gregory has selected a few samples of materials manufactured in Asia. He likes the look of them, but he needs more information.
Et là, on sait quels produits sont utilisés ou pas?
Non, bah là, c'est des encres. Clairement, les encres, elles doivent être fixées sur le tissu, elles doivent tenir au lavage. Comment elles sont fixées, on ne sait pas, on ne peut pas savoir.
The problem, according to Gregory, is that most designers don't even want to know.
Si je commence à dire, bon, mon bleu, j'ai 3/4 d'acide citrique, 5/4 de sulfate, et puis dedans, on a un peu de colorant E128 qui est cancérigène. À un moment donné, les gens, ça va leur faire peur, et puis nous, on va commencer à douter et on va plus pouvoir faire de vêtements. Donc si on commence à dire aux gens, bon, nos produits sont géniaux, ils sont haut de gamme, ils sont chers, ils vont vous faire du bien, vous allez les porter, vous allez vous sentir bien, mais en même temps, on est un peu en train de vous tuer comme un paquet de cigarettes, ça va pas le faire.
Without the details, Gregory won't buy any materials. Even for clothes designers themselves, then, it's difficult to find out what is going on in factories in Asia. As for major brands, how do they control what happens in their workshops? Can they assure us that the shirts we buy off them aren't toxic? This is the new El Dorado for textiles, Bangladesh, the world's second biggest exporter after China. The capital, Dhaka, has 5,000 clothing and dyeing factories. The workers' salaries are the lowest in the world, at about 30 euros per month on average. Almost all the major Western brands are present here. We turn our attention first of all to their official manufacturers. Do these factories stick to the European guidelines on dyeing products? In order to get into the workshops, there's only one way, by posing as the creators of a new brand that's getting started. We made an internet site and had some business cards printed.
I'm Fabrice.
Sorry, I have one card only, actually.
She is the last one.
Thank you.
With our hidden camera, we enter one of the largest factories in Dhaka. At first sight, this would seem to be a spacious, high-tech workshop, very close to European standards. We see some clothes made for the French brand, Célio. The director welcomes us.
Hello, sir.
Yes, you are all from?
France.
France. We are working with the France buyer, Célio, you know, and we are the biggest supplier. Célio.
Okay.
You know that. So I want.
We quickly turn the conversation to the subject of dyeing. We're about to find out that this factory is far from being a shining example.
The buyers, do they ask you questions about the chemicals that you use? This chemical?
No.
You can use what you want?
No, we are using chemical, but this is not recommended by buyer or others. Which is cheap, which is accurate, we are using that one. It may be Indian, it may be European, maybe so and so, so and so.
This manufacturer clearly has no hang-ups about the subject. And yet, producing clothing for a French brand, he should adhere to European regulations.
And what about the certificate, the clients? Do they ask for the REACH certificate?
Yes, REACH certificate we are trying. REACH, by present we have not taken the REACH, but we are working on that.
Okay, when do you think that could be possible?
I think within 1 year we will get it.
In 1 year?
Yes, we will get it. But at present it is hard for us.
Despite the fact that this regulation has been in effect for the last 7 years, it seems that Célio is selling clothes in Europe that don't comply with the REACH norm. We asked the brand if it adheres to the REACH legislation. They declined to talk to us. Is this manufacturer just an isolated case? Is it in the interests of brands to turn a blind eye to the products used? If so, why? In a large hotel in Dhaka, we have an appointment with a textile agent. His job is to bring Western brands and Bangladeshi factories together. Once again, we present ourselves as French clothes designers. He soon tries to find out whether we're interested in complying with the REACH norm and getting the certificate. He calls it wanting the test.
You want this pass or not? Some customer, they don't want, they don't care. Some customer, they don't care.
If we decide not to take the test and it's cheapest,
it will affect on cost. But you can minus 20%, you can add 20%.
15 cents may seem a laughable sum, but let's just say you're ordering 1 million articles of clothing. By not doing the tests to check whether the clothes comply with the norm, you can save 150,000 euros. What are these products that can help to reduce the bill? And are they toxic? Still in Dhaka, we show up at a little workshop that specializes in dyeing. These premises are much more dilapidated. The workers dye the clothes on a production line. With their bare hands, they take the jeans straight out of the machines. In the courtyard, there are dozens of empty containers. We try to find out more about what was in them.
And the chemicals, where does that come from?
Middle market.
In an attempt to track these products down, we head for the local market. Only a few streets from the workshop, there are little shops selling all kinds of sacks and multicolored jars. What do they contain? We question one of the salesmen about carcinogenic coloring agents, officially banned in the textile industry. Azoic colorants. Last year, they were found in clothes sold by the Zara brand, which had been tested by Greenpeace.
Normal, company normal, not banned. Something is Taiwan, Malaysia.
Taiwan and Malaysia.
India.
India.
তোমরা কি সার্টিফিকেট দিতে পারো না
না বস যা লোকালে বিক্রি করে বেশি লোকালের বিক্রি তো এটা সার্টিফিকেট হবে না আবার সার্টিফিকেট নিলে ব্র্যান্ডের মতই দাম দিতে হবে
তো এগুলা কেমন বিক্রি হয় ব্র্যান্ডের চেয়ে এগুলা বেশি বিক্রি হয় না
এগুলাই তো বিক্রি হয় বেশি ব্র্যান্ডের মাল কয়জনে নেয় ব্র্যান্ডের মাল নেয় যারা বড় বড় কোম্পানি যারা যেমন কিন্তু দেখা গেল এনতে যদি কিনেন এটা 100 টাকা দেয় এটা কিনতে হবে 1300 টাকা
We decide to go back to the little dyeing factory which buys its products at the market. It's quite probable that it uses certain toxic products. Where are these clothes headed? We question the foreman.
So which brand is it?
All brand H&M,
H&M.
H&M big brand, American Eagle, Zara H&M. All of the garments are subcontract factory.
Subcontractors. So not all the clothes of the major brands are dyed in their official factories. Zara declined to talk to us. H&M acknowledged that some of its suppliers buy their products from local markets, but assured us that the products are tested. The subcontractors, a murky system onto which some light was shed by a recent tragedy. On the 24th of April 2013, the Rana Plaza, a dilapidated 9-story building in Dhaka, collapsed. It was home to 5 workshops producing clothing from major European brands. The death toll came to 1,200. But the brands themselves will not be facing any charges because they have no legal responsibility for subcontractors. The safety and working conditions of workers in Bangladesh have since become a much debated issue. What are things really like in the dyeing factories? We visit a workshop, passing ourselves off as buyers. And what we discover there goes far beyond anything we might have imagined. We're welcomed by the manager, who is in fact a subcontractor. In all the dyeing factories, the clothes are not yet labelled with the brand name. We question the manager about his customers.
Disney. So this is for Disney, okay, great.
Total, I got a news order, they will start day after 2.
Okay.
অনেক মানে এর মেইন বায়ার হলো ইতালিয়ান থেকে বিভিন্ন দেশে যায়
We asked to look around the factory. In the main workshop, very young-looking workers are smoothing out products on a workbench. Officially, Bangladeshi dyeing factories are not allowed to employ anyone under the age of 16. but the law is hardly ever respected. One little girl looks to be about 10 years old.
But what is the age? She looks very young.
She looks at the foreman as if to make sure she hasn't said something wrong.
You know, because tell them for
13 or 14 years.
The young workers wear neither gloves nor masks. The air is unbreathable.
How old is she? Ask her.
15 years old.
See, because she looks very young.
Because Bangladesh is construction, is body construction is very high. Maximum high is married.
Ah, okay.
Maximum.
Like this guy, how old is he?
15 years old.
What's your age?
He's not 16 বছর। ও বলতাছে this guy, wait,
Ah, 16, okay.
Clearly, the children here mustn't forget to lie about their age. Why are there no adult workers? A few meters along the road, we visit another factory and see the same thing. The foreman tells us that they are subcontracting for Western brands, Tom Taylor, Joe Fresh and H&M. Ironically, the garments these children are dyeing are all intended for children.
Other company, like, no problem with the kids? They don't mind? No. Tom কি এটা জানে?
হ্যাঁ, ওরা আসছে মাঝে মাঝে।
হ্যাঁ, তুমি?
স্যার, এটা প্রিন্টিং ফ্যাক্টরি। মানে এটা পিপল। এইগুলোই পাওয়া যায়, এর বেশি পাওয়া যায় না। মানে এখানে তো মানে কারাগুলো করে, কারাগুলো করে এগুলোর জন্য অনেকে কাজ করতে চায়। তার জন্য এটা মানে এমন একটা কাজ, কাজ করতেছে, চিত্তে কালা লেগে গেছে।
Employing children rather than adults to undertake dangerous tasks and paying them less than €1 a day, it's cynical in the extreme. If these dyers really are, as they claim, subcontractors for H&M and Disney, what efforts do the brands make to police their practices? Disney declined to talk to us. The brand has announced that it's pulling out of Bangladesh. The country clearly isn't good for Donald and Mickey's image. In Paris, after weeks of asking, we are finally granted a meeting with senior representatives from H&M. The Sustainable Development Director has come especially from Sweden to answer our questions, while 3 representatives of the company's communications department in France sit in.
Could you tell us how it goes in factories that make printing and the dyeing?
We do the audits and inspections as if we do in manufacturing units, meaning that we visit them approximately twice a year in average.
We've been in a factory and they said that they work for you and for other brands also. And they were doing some printing. And the workers were all children between 10 and 14. And they worked without any protection. What do you think of that?
If that is true, we of course need much more information to be able to investigate that. That is super serious. We have a very systematic way of doing inspections and putting demands, then controlling them, and then coaching the suppliers to facilitate that they can drive change within the factories. So that would be very surprising.
The factory in question is not on the list of the brand's official suppliers. Just an oversight? Or is a supplier in Bangladesh concealing its subcontractors from H&M? One thing is for sure, H&M goes to great lengths to try and reassure its customers. One of its favorite themes is respect for the environment. On the brand's website, we see this photo of a woman posing by a water treatment system. The water coming out of the factory's pipes is crystal clear. Other brands have taken a similar sort of stance. Here's what you find, for example, on the websites of La Redoute and Cinéma. But is this the reality of factories in Bangladesh? Using our hidden camera again, we film inside one of Dhakar's main dyeing factories.
Hello, sir.
The manager greets us and lists his customers.
And you have a lot of European customers?
Yeah. We have KID fans, Hokkaido fans, Red Cats fans. H&M now recently input in our factory. They are visited, they are developing in our.
If we add on all the brands mentioned on the company's website, it would seem to be working for all these customers. If H&M really did visit the factory, as the manager claims, did they inspect the water treatment system? We asked to see it, and the manager proudly shows us this brand new setup.
After the biological treatment, this water comes from the reservation. We are mixing the chemical, and this water goes from the river.
But we're somewhat surprised by the color of the water after it's been treated.
So this is the water at the end, but it's very colored, no?
But it is environmentally friendly. Bangladesh Department of Environment, this water color is no problem. No problem.
Are you sure? You can put that in the river?
Yes.
The people can drink that?
No.
But it's going to be in the river and the people are going to drink that?
No.
No? And the fish, it's okay for the fish?
Yeah.
Okay.
We leave the factory and look for the wastewater pipe. Here it is. The water dumped into the river is bright red. How can this possibly be in line with environmental regulations? We take a sample and deliver it to the laboratories of the Ministry of the Environment. This time, we claim to be scientists doing research.
And it's normal, even with this kind of color, if the water comes from an ETP, this is normal.
Biological ETP, they can't remove the color.
Okay. You make tests for the chemicals to see which chemicals remain inside the water, because I think there are a lot of chemicals.
We don't have that facility. We test DO, VOD, COD, pH.
So
specific chemical we can't do that. Specific chemical.
So the Bangladeshi Ministry of the Environment stamps its approval on factories without even testing what chemicals may be present in their wastewater, somewhat compromising the lofty ecological resolutions of the Western brands. In the river that runs through Dhaka, the levels of heavy metals in the water are 50,000 times higher than the norm, according to tests carried out by the association Riverkeeper. Yet millions of people wash in it, give it to their animals to drink, use it for washing clothes. What exactly does H&M know about the water dumped into the river by the dyeing factories? We asked the H&M Sustainable Development Director.
This is the color of the water we were able to film at the output of a factory that work for you. And as you can see, the color is red. Do you think it's normal or?
No, so we have very clear chemical restrictions. The wastewater treatment requirements that we have, the water cannot be colored. It puts some environmental damage to water and fish, which is not allowed from wet processing from H&M supply chain.
So are you surprised by the color of the water?
So if that is the case, if this is something you have seen and that is confirmed that is from H&M production, they have not followed our requirements, so then we need much more information to be able to go back to a supplier and see what went wrong.
But our interview is suddenly curtailed by the communications department representative.
Pourquoi? Parce qu'on finit le temps. Est-ce qu'il y a quelqu'un d'autre à qui je peux poser le reste des questions? Je pense qu'il y a vraiment des questions importantes.
Il y a vraiment des questions importantes, mais on vous a demandé toute la liste des questions. Il y en a beaucoup plus que prévu. On a pris le temps. On a Elena qui vient exprès pour vous de Suède.
Faire venir quelqu'un de Suède pour m'accorder seulement 30 minutes d'interview, alors qu'il y a des points assez compliqués à évoquer, c'est très curieux.
Je suis désolée, en France, personne ne peut prendre la parole sur ce sujet. C'est un sujet lourd qui est très important. Moi, je ne suis pas habilitée à pouvoir répondre à ça. Elena peut. On vient de vous répondre.
I printed, if you want to have the chemical restrictions list and the supplier list. Would you like that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
The factory we visited isn't on the list given to us by H&M. But according to the brand itself, the document is only 95% complete. What exactly is the impact of the textile industry on the environment? Do the clothes we wear make the people living around the factories sick? Next stop, Tamil Nadu in southern India. Western brands arrived here 30 years ago, long before they turned their attention to Bangladesh. Long enough ago to make it possible to measure any harmful effects on people's health. A huge controversy about industrial pollution in the region has pitted the textile industry against local peasants. Shanmugan is one of them. He starts by showing us the dam which was built to supply the dyeing factories with water. Since its construction, all the local rivers and the groundwater have allegedly been contaminated. Tests have shown that the water contains alarming quantities of sodium.
அப்போ வந்து அது வெள்ளிங்கிழமுடைய தொடர்ச்சினால சிறுவாணி டச் ஆகி தான் தண்ணி வரனால தண்ணி அருமையாக இருக்குது. எந்த வெள்ளாம் வரு தண்ணியே நாங்கள் ஊற்றோண்டி இதில் தான் சாப்பிடுது. நாங்கள் ஊரில் வந்து ஊற்றோண்டி இதில் தான் சாப்பிடுது.
Shanmugan's farm is by this little village. Only a few years ago, he grew vegetables and corn. But now his land has been declared unfit for cultivation.
இப்படி இதாகிடுது. ரொம்ப கொஞ்சம் பருவம் இருந்தால் தான் அந்த வெள்ளாம் வரும். தென்னை மரமெல்லாம் காயில் பாருங்க.
Along with 30,000 other peasants in the region, Shanmugan has taken legal action against the dyeing factories he accuses of poisoning his land. So far, only 500 farmers have received compensation. He isn't one of them.
It
is underground water.
போர்வெல் ஆழ்குழாய் கிணறு.
அந்த முதல் வந்து அந்த பொல்யூட்டட் வாட்டரை குடிச்சிட்டு இருந்தீங்கன்னு கேட்குறாங்க.
ஆமாம் கொஞ்சம் கலந்துருந்தது, அதில் அப்படியே சாப்பிட்டுட்டு இருந்தேன்.
Along with Shanmugan, everyone in the village used to drink this water. Is it just coincidence that over the last few years the cases of cancer have greatly increased? He introduces us to a neighbor, a farmer too, who's been ill for a year.
அதான் அந்த தண்ணினால தான் பெரிய பிரச்சனை எல்லாம் நிறைய பாதிக்குது. கேன்சர் அது இதுவும் யூரின் போகிற பகுதியில் அதுக்கு அதனால குடிக்க முடியாது. வாயில் ஊற்றினா நாக்கே எரியிற மாதிரி கசப்போம். அதை சாயப்பட்ட கெமிக்கல் தான், அதுதான் பாதித்தது. மற்ற வகைகள் ஒன்றும் பாதிக்கல. சாக்கடை தண்ணி வந்தால் கூட பாதிக்காது. கெமிக்கல் அதில் வந்து நம்ம காட்டாக இருக்க வந்தாவே அவங்க பாரிஸ் அப்படின்னு ஒரு நாட்டில் இருந்தாங்க.
And the phenomenon isn't restricted to this small village. Several doctors have been noting an increasing number of cancer cases in the region. One unofficial study estimates that there's been a 40% increase. We visit this clinic, which specializes in the treatment of cancer victims. Since it opened 5 years ago, it's been swamped. Even the room in which Dr. Verlaven keeps the medical files will soon be too small for its purpose.
Medical record division. Last 5 years, all the patients' medical record have been stored here.
So how much in total?
More than 6,000 to 7,000. 7,000. That's 6,850. It has come now 6,850. Steady increasing in number.
In this clinic, there are no individual rooms, only huge shared wards for the patients undergoing chemotherapy.
This is our ward. It's a general ward. Mostly farmers are grade 3, grade 4 workers. Also are CA patients.
There are 60 or so people living cheek by jowl in the ward as they wait for their course of treatment.
is with bladder cancer, urinary bladder. So now the increase in incidence of bladder, kidney, colorectal cancer like that. So the bladder cancer is suffering.
And cancer isn't the only scourge striking the region. We hear about a medical study regarding the increased incidence of miscarriages and male sterility. The man who carried out the study runs a public hospital. He refuses to be filmed, no doubt because anything related to the textile industry, a major employer in the region, is very sensitive. We go to meet him with our hidden camera. He unequivocally accuses the dyeing factories.
I've done a study some 4 years back. Health status of people of Europe district when comparing with bias, textiles and garment factories. And from there we found sterility, infertility, miscarriage. The difference is more than 50%. 50%.
You think we can't get this data, in fact?
No. We should not disclose anything because politics is like this.
This study, which he lets us leaf through, will never be published. It was carried out 3 years ago on 10,000 people. We appealed to other public health doctors in the region, but none agreed to speak to us. Back to the village where Shan Mugan lives. The first time we met, he didn't tell us everything. This time he invites us to his home, along with a few friends. A few years ago, it seems, Shan Mugan's doctor diagnosed him as sterile. He claims this is true of 50% of the men in the village.
அப்படி நிறைய இருக்கு லேட்டாகி நிறைய பேர் இப்போ நான் அங்கே பார்த்தோம்ல அந்த பொண்ணுக்கும் கூட குழந்தை இல்லை அபேஷன் ஆயிடுது இருக்கு வரும் அப்பப்போ வாடகை வச்சு போய் வேலை செய்ய முடியறதில்லை உடல் ரீதியாக வந்து இப்போ மூச்சு திணறல் மற்ற எல்லா செய்யுமே ஆகிடுது இப்போ ஒன்றும் பண்ண முடியும் மன ரீதியாகவும் மன உளைச்சல் ஆமாம் இருந்து ஒரு குடும்பம் ஆமாம் லைஃப் வீணாக போச்சு வீணாவா அப்படின்னு நினைக்கிறேன்.
In India, at least 2 unofficial studies have established a link between the textile industry and the local people's health problems: cancer, sterility, and miscarriages. But to date, no official body of research has been carried out. Are there still toxic products present in these clothes when they arrive in Europe? Are the employees who handle the garments in the shops also at risk? Back in France, we head to Angoulême to meet Aurélie and her mother. For 4 years, Aurélie worked as a saleswoman for a well-known clothes boutique. Part of her job consisted of unpacking the clothes and arranging them in the shop. And when she opened the packaging, her body reacted in a spectacular way.
Donc les symptômes que vous aviez, c'était quoi?
Alors au départ, ça commençait à me brûler, à me chauffer plus, et puis je me mettais à me gratter. Au départ, je ne savais pas ce qui se passait. Et puis les boutons apparaissaient, puis j'en avais de plus en plus sur tout le corps en fait. Donc à chaque fois, on appelait les pompiers, mon directeur de magasin me faisait rentrer chez moi, et je repartais.
Aurélie took care to take photographs of these attacks.
Et à chaque fois, ça me faisait les boutons. Ensuite, ça apparaît sur des plaques et ça devient rouge écarlate.
Aurélie asked her employer for a list of the chemical products present in the clothes with the intention of diagnosing a possible allergy. But the company employing Aurélie never complied with her request. She finally discovered through her doctor that she is allergic to chromium, a dangerous substance used to make colors fast. Proposals to ban it are currently under consideration.
Urticaire géant après contact avec vêtements, allergie, sel de chrome.
After repeatedly missing work in this way, Aurélie was sacked for being unfit for the job. She took her case to Industrial Tribune and obtained a financial settlement. The brand communicated to us that it had no knowledge of any illnesses or allergies among its employees. Yet, just like Aurélie, There are many sales staff who have physical reactions to the clothing they handle. To such an extent, in fact, that some unions are encouraging them to make their voices heard. Around this table are employees from 15 major retail outlets. One woman talks about what happens when she opens the cardboard boxes.
Dès qu'on ouvre certains box, surtout la jeanerie, là on ressent vraiment une odeur forte. Ça veut dire que sur le moment, on ne peut pas rester directement à proximité des box. On est obligé de laisser aérer les box pour après pouvoir commencer à les traiter.
Moi, j'ai un exemple bien concret, il y a même pas un mois, tu vois, j'ai préparé de la marchandise, des jeans. Dès que j'ai ouvert le contenant, quoi, j'ai senti une odeur, ça commençait à me brûler le nez, quoi. Le temps de préparer la marchandise, j'avais les yeux qui me brûlaient, quoi, des picotements. Et je suis resté genre 5 minutes avec la marchandise.
Next, an employee describes opening shipping containers that have come from Asia.
Nous, sur la logistique, on reçoit des milliers de containers à l'année, principalement de Chine ou des pays expatriés. Et lorsqu'on décharge des conteneurs, on ressent des odeurs de vernis, du malaise. Bon, les salariés, au bout de la moitié du conteneur, ça ne se sentent pas bien. C'est des milliers de produits qu'on manutentionne. C'est des produits... Voilà, donc on ne sait pas ce qu'on manutentionne aujourd'hui. Il n'y a aucune information du salarié.
It seems that there are gases injected into the boxes and containers to protect the goods from humidity and insects. It's a long voyage, lasting up to 2 months. If some of our clothes are toxic, then it's partly due to these gases used for transporting them. To find out more, we head to Le Havre, France's second largest port. This is where most of the clothes manufactured in Asia are unloaded. Sébastien Géant is a customs officer. He and his colleagues open the containers, getting first blast of the vapors which they disgorge. Customs regulations won't allow us to film this operation, so Sébastien simulates the procedure that they have established to limit the risk of intoxication.
Nous se positionnons sur le côté pour ouvrir les portes. Nous ouvrons les portes donc pour éviter tout contact avec les gaz toxiques. Une fois la porte ouverte, nous laissons aérer le conteneur 30 minutes.
Then they go inside the container to inspect it. As the gases are often odorless, there's no way of knowing if they're still present.
Dans les gaz de fumigation, il peut y avoir le bromure de méthane, la phosphine, le bromure de méthyle, donc toutes sortes de gaz qui servent à détruire toute trace de vie. Notamment, je prends l'exemple de la phosphine. La phosphine, c'est simple, c'est un gaz qui rentre dans la composition des gaz de combat. Donc, il est évidemment éminemment toxique.
There's been very little research into the health of employees in the textile sector. But for the first time, a survey was recently carried out by the union Force Ouvrière inside a major French ready-to-wear company. 340 salespeople were questioned. Over half of them reported abnormal symptoms in the workplace. Itching of the eyes, skin, nose and throat, dizziness, headaches. Serious cause for concern. In Angoulême, Aurélie, the former saleswoman, has other health problems, unrelated to her severe chromium allergy.
Moi, j'ai fait 2 fausses couches là-bas. Et donc depuis, j'ai jamais réussi à avoir d'autres enfants. J'ai fait 2 fausses couches de plus depuis que je suis partie. Même si je ne touche plus les produits, j'arrive toujours pas à avoir d'enfants.
Là, vous avez fait combien de fausses couches?
4. J'ai fait 4 fausses couches en tout. Depuis, maintenant, ça va faire 2 ans.
The cause of Aurélie's repeated miscarriages is unknown. She is currently undergoing tests. But her problem seems strangely similar to those we observed in India. Is it a coincidence? Could the clothes contain substances which have an effect on fertility? More tests need to be carried out. Remember earlier in the program how we requested such tests from 10 brands without telling them that we were reporters? 45 days later, after the legal deadline had run out, only one of them sent us detailed results. The brand was ProMod, and the result? Their t-shirt isn't toxic. But we did get an email from the brand Babu, which was very supportive of our initiative. You are right. The textile industry is now using an incredible quantity of chemical products, some of which are potentially toxic for humans and inhibit the normal development of the sexual organs. Yet Babu doesn't believe it's part of the problem. We can reassure you that all products bearing our label comply with regulations. You can wear them in total peace of mind. Lacking responses and information from the brands we contacted, we try another tack, buying 24 articles of clothing from well-known French ready-to-wear brands and submitting them to a series of tests. We take them to a specialist laboratory, IFTH, the Institute of Textiles in Mulhouse. First, the garments are cut up, with samples placed in test tubes. We're primarily interested in a particular molecule used by the textile industry in the mixing of colors.
Alors là, on analyse les nonylphénols. Donc j'ajoute du solvant en fait qui est approprié pour cette norme et on va le mettre donc à l'extraction, donc au bain ultrason en fait.
Several studies have shown that nonylphenol is an endocrine disruptor. It can affect the hormonal and reproductive systems, even in very weak doses. Here are the results. 56% of the clothes manufactured in Asia and tested at IFTH contain nonylphenols. Let's take the example of the brand Babu. One of the 2 t-shirts tested does not contain any, seemingly justifying the brand's optimism. The second t-shirt, however, contains a very large quantity of nonylphenols, 1,830 milligrams per kilogram. We asked to talk to someone at Babu, but to date we've had no reply. Should we be worried about the presence of nonylphenols in our clothes? We go to Montpellier University Hospital, where we show the results to Professor Sultan, an endocrinologist.
1830 milligrammes kilo. Comment peut-on être statique et immobile devant ces données?
Est-ce que vous pensez que des vendeuses, par exemple, qui sont en contact donc répété avec des cartons de vêtements, les perturbateurs endocriniens qu'on peut trouver dans les vêtements, peuvent être mis en cause lors de fausses couches à répétition?
Quand on inhale des nonylphénols tous les jours, il est clair que c'est un facteur de risque. Oui, sans aucun. Personne ne saurait contredire cette affirmation. La jeune femme est soumise à une multitude de perturbateurs endocriniens dont on sait qu'ils peuvent être responsables d'avortements à répétition.
According to the professor, nonylphenol can also affect people who wear the clothes.
N'oublions pas que ces t-shirts vont être portés pendant des jours, des mois, voire des années. Et comme on sait que certains phénols sont absorbés par la peau, il y a tout lieu de se préoccuper sur ce risque à long terme.
Don't the endocrine disruptors get washed away? What's the situation there? Back to the Institute of Textiles, where we did the tests. While some nonylphenols cling to the clothes, this engineer explains how a large number of the molecules become detached and continue their existence elsewhere.
Ce sont des substances qu'on utilise au cours des process de fabrication qui n'ont pas de lien chimique avec l'article et au fur et à mesure des lavages, elles vont rapidement effectivement partir dans les eaux de lavage. Ces substances, elles ont une durée de vie très importante, elles ne se dégradent pas.
So are this long-lived endocrine disruptors filtered out of wastewater treatment plants? We contacted several, but all refused to let us through their gates. So we made our way to one small treatment plant, one of 18,000 in France, and managed to get in with our hidden camera. This is where the wastewater is treated. One of the technicians shows us the sludge that remains after the treatment.
On met ça dans le silo à bout. Il y a celui-ci là. Actuellement, on met dans celui-là.
It contains organic material and other wastes, including the famous endocrine disruptors. What happens to this sludge?
Et après, on va venir la culture pour l'épandage. En général, pour une culture d'hiver. Ouais. Il faut qu'il y ait une culture d'hiver d'implantée. C'est qu'on met les bouts.
Donc ça va être quoi, par exemple?
Du blé, du colza, de l'orge. C'est pour une culture-là.
So farmers spread this sludge on their fields. It's analysed beforehand. But is it tested for every possible substance?
Et sur les perturbateurs endocriniens, vous avez des mesures qui sont faites ou pas?
Là, je pense pas. Non, jusqu'à présent, non.
D'accord, ça c'est pas obligatoire en fait.
Il me semble pas.
Ça vous inquiète pas de mettre ça sur vos cultures?
Mais sinon, vous faites quoi? Sinon, c'est quoi les filières autres que l'agricole qui sont valables? Parce qu'il n'y a pas de solution correcte.
There is only one wastewater treatment plant in France equipped to eliminate all nonyl phenols, which come not only from our clothes, but also from paint and paper. As for the sludge from the plant we visited, this is spread on fields growing crops such as wheat and colza, and the crops then absorb the endocrine disruptors. Swedish studies in particular have shown that 80% of vegetables could be contaminated. This is how a molecule washed out of the clothes we wear finds its way into our food chain. Yet the textile industry is still allowed to use this molecule. Why? At the European Commission, we talked to one of the experts in charge of drawing up the famous REACH regulations. He tells us that nonyl phenol is currently being studied.
Il y a en effet un soupçon d'impact en matière de santé publique. Peut-être des problèmes endocriniens ou autres. En tout cas, c'est ce type de risque que l'évaluation doit absolument établir.
Une idée de la date à laquelle ils seront réglementés?
Si on veut faire des évaluations un petit peu solides et représentatives d'un point de vue statistique, on a besoin de temps. On fait une étude qui scientifiquement est solide et on prendra la décision le moment venu.
But time is short. It's very unlikely that the textile industry will change its methods unless legally obliged to do so. And until then, the suspicion will remain that our clothes are toxic. For those who make them, those who sell them, and those who wear them.